Imagine finding a mysterious old book in your attic. As you open it, you see a long list of names, each with numbers beside it. Adam lived 930 years. Seth lived 912 years. Enos lived 905 years. And after every name it says the same thing, and he died. The pattern feels strange. The words keep repeating. Name after name, life after life is the repeated phrase. It almost sounds like a warning, and then like a light switching on. It makes sense. This isn't just a list, it's a timeline, a countdown through history. One day that list will include everyone, even people alive today. Time does not pause. It moves forward, taking everyone along with it. This old book is actually a part of the Bible, and the names you see are from something called genealogies. These genealogies are like a family tree for the whole world, going back thousands of years to the very first humans. Recently, a scientist made a video about these genealogies, and it surprised thousands of people. He explained that these lists aren't boring or random. They show the true history of the Earth in a way few people notice. The information in these names and dates reveals how old the Earth really is and why time is more important than we think. In the Bible, the book of Genesis has one of these detailed lists. Each person's birth date, age when they had their children, and lifespan are listed. This careful record gives a clear timeline from Adam all the way to Jesus. When someone takes all those ages and adds them up, the timeline reaches about 6,000 years. That number shocked many viewers. Schools and science books often teach that the Earth is millions or billions of years old. But the Bible's timeline tells a different story. It shows that human history is much shorter than most people think. The scientist in the video explained how these genealogies leave no gaps. Every person, every age, every year is counted without missing pieces. The video showed how the Bible's Old Testament gives exact ages, like Adam having Seth at 130 years old and Seth having Enos at 105. These details act like puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly, creating a timeline with no room for extra years. This challenges many modern ideas about the Earth's age, and that's why the video surprised so many people. As the scientist read through Genesis 5, the audience heard the words repeated over and over, and he died. This simple phrase, repeated for every name, started to feel like a heartbeat of time passing. No matter how long these people lived, 900 years or more, they still faced the same end. When asked what was wrong, the friend said, "I realized I'm going to die one day. And I don't know what happens after that. I want to find out." That moment changed the friend's life forever. The scientist explained that these genealogies aren't just old records. They carry a message that reaches across thousands of years to speak to people today. Every life ends. Time moves forward, no matter who we are or how long we live. The repeated phrase, "and he died," reminds us of this truth. The Bible doesn't hide the reality of death. It shows it clearly, like a flashing sign reminding everyone to pay attention. Remember to join our community by subscribing to this channel. The video also showed how the genealogies aren't random. They connect important events in history. From Adam to Noah, from Noah to Abraham, and eventually to Jesus, the names tell the true story of human history. Scientists have discovered ancient records and artifacts that match the Bible's descriptions, adding even more weight to these timelines. The scientist pointed out that these genealogies also show the trustworthiness of the Bible. If these lists were just stories, the details wouldn't fit so perfectly, but the numbers and names align with historical events, proving the Bible's account of early human history. The video emphasized how this truth applies to every human being alive today. Mortality isn't a distant concept from ancient texts. It's a present reality that continues with every passing second. Medical advancements have extended modern life expectancy to around 73 years globally, according to recent World Health Organization data, yet death's inevitability remains unchanged. Science might slow the clock, but it can never stop it. The genealogies in Genesis stand as ancient evidence of this ongoing truth. Life is temporary, fleeting, and fragile. The scientists shared a historical parallel to make the message even clearer. In the mid-14th century, Europe was devastated by the Black Death. Over 25 million people died in just a few short years. Entire towns disappeared. People lived in constant fear, realizing that death could strike without warning. The fear of mortality drove many to reflect deeply on life's purpose and what might come after. The scientist explained that this fear, though terrifying, isn't new. It mirrors the feeling evoked when reading the biblical genealogies, where every life, no matter how long, ultimately meets its end. To make the message more personal, the video included a modern story. A father once brought his teenage son to church. The boy was restless and uninterested as the pastor read from Genesis 5. But after hearing the words, "and he died," repeated again and again, the boy grew quiet. Later, he admitted that he suddenly realized his own mortality for the first time. He understood in that moment that his time on earth wouldn't last forever. The boy's innocent sense of invincibility shattered, replaced by a deeper awareness of life's brevity. The scientist then shifted the focus from death to salvation. He showed that the genealogies don't just emphasize life's end, they point toward hope. The family line in Genesis 5 ultimately leads to Noah, through whose family God preserved humanity after the Great Flood around 2300 BC, according to biblical calculations. Later genealogies, found in the books of Matthew and Luke, trace that same line to Jesus Christ. The birth of Christ represents the arrival of a Savior who, according to Christian belief, came to break the power of death. Genealogies help historians link ancient civilizations to modern societies. By comparing biblical genealogies with ancient texts from Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Persia, researchers have found intriguing overlaps. For instance, records of kings and rulers found on Sumerian tablets correspond with timeframes mentioned in the Bible. This consistency adds credibility to the genealogical records, showing that the Bible's historical accounts reflect genuine historical events. Genetic research has added another layer of understanding to the study of genealogies. Geneticists examine DNA to trace the movement of human populations across continents. By analyzing genetic markers passed down through generations, researchers can map migration patterns that align with historical genealogical records. For example, the Y chromosome haplogroup passed from father to son has helped identify connections between populations separated by vast distances. A significant genetic discovery involves the priestly lineage of Aaron, Moses' brother. According to biblical genealogies, Aaron's descendants were given the responsibility of serving as priests. Modern genetic studies have identified a unique DNA marker known as the Cohen modal haplotype, shared by many men from traditional Jewish priestly families. This genetic link provides scientific support for a family line recorded in biblical genealogies thousands of years ago. Archaeology and anthropology rely heavily on genealogical records to connect discovered artifacts with historical narratives. Archaeologists uncover ancient writings, monuments, and artifacts that often include genealogical references. These names and dates help place discoveries within a specific historical context. The discovery of the Tel Dan stele in northern Israel provided evidence of the biblical King David, a figure whose lineage is detailed in biblical genealogies. The inscription, dating back to the 9th century BC, mentions the House of David, confirming the historical existence of David's dynasty. This find aligns with genealogical records in the Bible, demonstrating how archaeology and genealogies work together to validate historical accounts. Anthropologists study genealogies to understand the relationships between ancient cultures. Similarities in names, traditions, and myths found in different parts of the world often point to shared ancestry or historical interactions. Genealogical records suggest that after the events described at the Tower of Babel, humanity spread across the globe, forming distinct language groups while retaining traces of common cultural elements. These shared genealogical threads connect ancient Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and even Mesoamerican civilizations, suggesting a shared origin consistent with the biblical timeline. The study of DNA has revolutionized the understanding of genealogies. Genetic researchers use DNA samples to trace human ancestry back through thousands of years, uncovering migration patterns that align with historical records. Mitochondrial DNA, passed from mothers to their children, allows scientists to track maternal lineage, while Y chromosome DNA follows paternal lines. One of the most popular and controversial theories is the idea that Jesus Christ had children and that his descendants still walk the earth today. This theory gained worldwide attention with the publication of the Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. The book, although fictional, presented the idea that Jesus married Mary Magdalene and that their descendants continued through a secret bloodline protected by powerful groups like the Priory of Sion. The biblical genealogies do not support this theory. The New Testament focuses on Jesus' ancestry, tracing his lineage through King David, but it makes no mention of a spouse or children. Despite the lack of historical or scriptural evidence, the theory persists. Some argue that the suppression or alteration of certain genealogical records shielded this sacred bloodline from persecution. Historians and theologians have thoroughly debunked these ideas. The genealogies in Matthew and Luke, they explain, aim to prove Jesus' messianic lineage rather than document his descendants. The historical records from the early church, including writings from contemporaries like Josephus, make no mention of Jesus having children. Still, the mystery of an unbroken holy bloodline captivates the imagination of those who believe in hidden family secrets passed down through generations. The impact of this theory has been significant. It has led some to re-examine biblical genealogies, hoping to find hidden patterns or clues about Jesus' family. While mainstream scholars view these efforts as misguided, the idea of a living bloodline connected to one of history's most influential figures remains a compelling story for many. Another sensationalist theory suggests that the names listed in the Bible's genealogies connect to lost civilizations like Atlantis or the ancient Sumerians. This idea stems from the fact that many ancient cultures have myths and records that describe long-lived ancestors, massive floods, and early cities similar to those mentioned in Genesis. The Sumerian king list, for example, records the reigns of ancient rulers who supposedly lived for hundreds or even thousands of years, much like the patriarchs in Genesis. This similarity has led some theorists to argue that biblical genealogies are historical accounts of a shared ancient civilization. According to these theories, the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, helped establish well-known ancient societies like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and even Mesoamerican civilizations. Are you enjoying the story? Support our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Atlantis, a legendary island mentioned by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, has also been linked to biblical genealogies. Some claim that Noah's flood corresponds to the destruction of Atlantis, with survivors carrying their knowledge to other parts of the world. In these stories, the names and lifespans found in Genesis serve as echoes of a technologically advanced pre-flood civilization that was wiped out due to divine judgment or natural disaster. The Sumerian king list, for example, is often seen as mythological rather than historical. However, the persistence of these theories demonstrates people's deep fascination with the mysteries surrounding humanity's origins. The biblical genealogies, with their long lifespans and descriptions of early cities, provide fertile ground for such speculation. Perhaps the most unusual and imaginative theory is the claim that the names in the Bible's genealogies represent ancient extraterrestrial visitors. This idea, popularized by authors like Erich von Däniken in Chariots of the Gods, suggests that many figures from early biblical history were not human but extraterrestrial beings who visited Earth and influenced human development. According to these theories, the long lifespans recorded in Genesis, like Methuselah living to 969 years, are interpreted as evidence of alien genetics or advanced technology. The theory suggests that these visitors, sometimes referred to as the Anunnaki in Mesopotamian mythology, interbred with humans and created a hybrid race. The genealogies in Genesis 6 mention the Nephilim, described as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Ancient structures like the pyramids of Egypt, Stonehenge in England, and the ziggurats of Mesopotamia are often cited as evidence of this theory. Proponents argue that human societies couldn't have built such complex structures without outside help. The genealogies, in their view, record these interactions indirectly through the unusual lifespans and extraordinary achievements of early humans. Mainstream scientists reject these ideas, attributing long lifespans to different cultural understandings of time or environmental conditions. The structures attributed to alien influence are well explained by human engineering, innovation, and persistence. Archaeological evidence shows how ancient builders developed techniques over generations to construct these impressive monuments. His records in ancient texts, particularly those found in the Bible, have long served as historical roadmaps, connecting past generations with present ones. While some dismiss these genealogies as myths or symbolic narratives, archaeological discoveries over the years have provided remarkable evidence supporting their authenticity. These findings not only confirm the existence of key biblical figures, but also offer tangible links between ancient records and real historical events. In recent decades, archaeologists have uncovered artifacts that align with biblical genealogies, validating the existence of significant individuals and dynasties once thought to be purely religious or mythical. Among the most compelling discoveries are the Tel Dan Stele, the seal of King Hezekiah, and the James Ossuary. Each of these artifacts has sparked interest, debate, and further investigation into the Bible's genealogical records. In 1993, archaeologists excavating near Tel Dan in northern Israel made an extraordinary discovery, a broken stone slab bearing an ancient inscription. This artifact, known as the Tel Dan Stele, contained the phrase House of David, marking the first archaeological evidence of King David's historical existence. The inscription, written in Aramaic, dates back to the 9th century BC. It references a military victory by an Aramean king over the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. The mention of the House of David confirms the presence of a royal dynasty led by King David, a figure prominently featured in biblical genealogies. For centuries, skeptics had argued that King David was a fictional character created to enhance Israel's historical and religious narrative. The discovery of the Tel Dan Stele changed that perception. The genealogies in the Bible list David as the son of Jesse and the ancestor of Jesus Christ. His lineage, recorded in the books of Samuel, Kings, Chronicles, Matthew, and Luke, has always been central to understanding Israel's royal history and Jesus' messianic connection to David. The Tel Dan Stele provided archaeological confirmation of this family line, grounding the biblical narrative in historical reality. In 2015, archaeologists in Jerusalem announced another groundbreaking find: the seal of King Hezekiah, discovered near the southern wall of the Temple Mount. The seal, made of clay and known as a bulla, bore the inscription belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Judah. This artifact is directly linked to King Hezekiah, a ruler mentioned several times in the Bible. Hezekiah, the 13th king of Judah, is a well-documented biblical figure known for his religious reforms and resistance against the Assyrian invasion led by King Sennacherib. The Bible describes Hezekiah as a faithful king who trusted in God, implemented significant reforms, and ordered the destruction of pagan altars. The genealogies in 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, and Isaiah list Hezekiah as the son of King Ahaz and a descendant of King David. The discovery of his royal seal confirmed the historical accuracy of these records. The seal also featured a winged sun, a common symbol of divine protection in ancient Judah, reinforcing Hezekiah's religious beliefs and the biblical narrative of his devotion to God. If you are enjoying this story, click the super thanks. By supporting, you're helping bring history to life, sharing incredible discoveries, and fueling more content like this. The existence of the seal not only supports the genealogical records of Judah's kings, but also provides insight into the political and spiritual context of Hezekiah's reign. Archaeologists found the seal during excavations in an area believed to be an administrative center during Hezekiah's time, adding further weight to its authenticity and historical significance. In 2002, an artifact known as the James Ossuary made headlines worldwide. This small limestone box, used in ancient Jewish burial practices, bore the inscription, "James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus." The ossuary was dated to the 1st century AD, a period aligning with the life of Jesus and his family. The genealogies in the New Testament identify James as Jesus' half-brother, the son of Mary and Joseph. The Gospels of Matthew and Mark mention James, who later became a prominent leader in the early Christian church. The discovery of this ossuary with an inscription referencing Jesus seemed to provide physical evidence of the family relationship described in the Bible. Biblical genealogies are more than lists of names. They serve as historical, spiritual, and scientific records connecting past generations with the present. A recent video highlighted how archaeological discoveries have validated these genealogies, leaving many viewers deeply surprised. The discovery of the Tel Dan stele in 1993 confirmed the existence of King David's dynasty, once dismissed as myth. The seal of King Hezekiah, found near the Temple Mount, provided tangible proof of the existence of a king whose name is central to biblical genealogies. The James Ossuary, with its inscription linking James, Joseph, and Jesus, sparked intense debate about the historical existence of Jesus' family. Despite sensational theories about hidden bloodlines, lost civilizations, and extraterrestrial connections, the core message remains unchanged. Genealogies remind humanity of life's fleeting nature, with the repeated phrase, "and he died," echoing through time. They emphasize that life is short, history is connected, and time continues its relentless march forward. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.